Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ali ashabi ajmain. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, on behalf of the Forum for Social Studies, we'd like to welcome you all to the 31st Annual Islamic Dawah Conference. We will start our program with the very best, a recitation from the Holy Quran by Brother Durrani.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Welcome to the forum, brothers and sisters. I'd like to read something what Dr. Dubian said at the moment here.
Come here, please. Don't come in the camera.
On the behalf of Dr. Dubian, he thanks the Forum for the Social Study for their effort of managing every year for the last 31 years. Except Dr. Dubian apologies for his absence, which is due to an emergency outside London, which he has had to go. Many thanks to the Forum for Social Studies, especially people who are organizing it. Dr. Abdullah Umar Nafiz, Dr. Tanveer, Zaman and his family, and of course all the speakers, as you can see from here. They've been coming here for the last 31 years, and alhamdulillah, very blessed with the speakers who will give you a beautiful talk about Islam. Assalamu alaikum. Is this connected?
I think so. Is it coming? No, it's not coming. It is coming.
Got it now. Where is it going?
She's recording.
Oh, she's recording? Yes. She's recording. Can I say one thing? Usually we have Islamic Circle every Saturday for the last 39 years. This year Islamic Circle is part of Forum. So please, people who don't know about Islamic Circle, we are here every Saturday, 3 o'clock regardless. Assalamu alaikum.
I would like first to make a request. We have the registration form. Please fill it up, and on the corner you will see a black note. Please tick that if you want to receive the invitations, because unfortunately last year a sister did register, and when we sent her the invitation this year, she called us and said very bad things about us. So please tick that area so we know that you do want an invitation either through the mail, email, WhatsApp or SMS. Jazakallah khair. Our first speaker for today is Dr. Jamal Badawi. Dr. Jamal is from Canada, and he's the chairman of the Islamic Foundation. And the topic of his presentation is Misunderstood Islamic Text, Part 1 on Women's Issue. Dr. Jamal.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم النبيين والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam and in humanity, if there is anyone from other community, I greet you with the greeting of all of the prophets, the greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, blessing and mercy of Allah be upon you all. Just a quick word of thanks to all the organizers, especially the Tanweer family, which in spite of very difficult issues they have to deal with and difficult times, they're always there to organize and spend lots of time in preparation for this blessed gathering. May Allah reward them immensely. And a word of thanks, of course, to the director, Dr. Dubian, and all the brothers have been helping in any way in arranging tables, providing coffee so that we can open our eyes, and everything else. Jazakumullah khair and bless you all. The topic is really an involved one. It deals with some highly sensitive, controversial areas, so hold your chair. These are issues, some of these issues are issues that in the mind of many people, but they are shy or intimidated to ask, or they have asked but could not find a satisfactory answer. I'm not suggesting to do that. That's a long shot, but to have a humble little contribution to these issues. More particularly, and more importantly even, and at the heart of many areas of misunderstanding is poor methodology in interpreting and understanding Islamic texts. So we'll begin with that, but also in a brief way. If you expand on that, that would be a full presentation in itself. Just sort of appreciation, not to jump to interpret and say this is what it means. It's more than that. And then there are basically 5 issues. The 6 I'm doubtful, because I said even time permitting. I didn't even put them, but I have them. First of all, dealing with marital problems. To tell you the truth, it is the issue of whether the Quran say or instruct men to beat their wives. You must have heard that a lot. But I don't want to present it in a defensive way, but I'd like to put it in the proper framework first, so that we can understand these issues better. Secondly, male versus female share of inheritance, and male versus male worth of testimony. Inshallah, these ones I'll be going through rather fast, because one of them about inheritance, my great, I consider Ustad, and not only colleague, but Ustad, Dr. Suhaib Hasan has given a presentation, I think it was a couple of years ago maybe, or last year. So I will be very fast on that, so that those who did not have the privilege of hearing him would at least get the essence of it so quickly. The testimony would be relatively fast, but not as fast. But I think I'm moving on to some hadith, 2 particular hadiths that has been very difficult for a lot of people to understand with authenticity, not apologetic, authenticity, but better look based on proper methodology of interpretation. Time is at premium, so I'll begin first with issues of methodology. 1, what I mean throughout this presentation by Islamic texts, I'm specifically referring to the 2 primary sources of Islam, the Quran and the sound Sunnah. Secondly, we might face some issues in the Quran or difficulties for us to understand whether they are related to ghaib, the unseen, or to some areas that we could not understand fully. But we need to remind ourselves without any apology, in clarity and honesty, Islam means submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Submission to Allah is not a slogan. It means unqualified acceptance and deference to the wisdom and knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether we understand something or have some difficulty with it. I begin from the standpoint of Islam, what Islam really means. Thirdly, the fact that we begin with acceptance wholeheartedly does not mean that we are prohibited from trying to ascertain the authenticity of any interpretation or teaching that we've been exposed to for a long period of time, but also to understand the context in which some of those texts refer to. The lack of that result in going in all kind of direction, uncontextualized type of understanding, which is not the best. Fourthly, when we speak about our turath, our heritage, the great juridical issues that has been dealt with great scholars and Imam, we have every respect for them. And I don't agree with those who speak as if everything for 1,400 years, these scholars did not understand nothing, but we are the smarties now that we now build anew. No, we have to benefit, even logically speaking, not in Islam, logically anywhere, that you benefit from the heritage, but you have no problem also in ascertaining the authenticity, number one, and also respectfully, I say respectfully, lovingly, objectively, review some of the things that may be thought to contradict or to go against the fundamental texts of Islam, the Quran and Sunnah. The B part of that deals with a reminder, just a reminder for appreciation purpose, not really learning. It's too big a topic. One, normative Islam, based on the two sources properly interpreted, is not identical with some of the cultural practices of Muslims. Some people reverse that. You see, what Muslims are doing, say, Islam is this is Islam in reality. No, they're not the same. Not in Islam and not in other religions as well, to be fair. Secondly, when we deal with any topic, whether it's about women, whether about peace and war and any other issue, we need to be careful not to base our judgment on one or a few verses or hadiths here and there. A proper methodology is to compile and cull together all the text in the Quran, all the text in some hadiths in a given topic and study it together, because one of the rules, especially in the Quran, Al-Qur'anu yufassiru ba'duhu ba'dan. Quran explains itself. So you don't take one ayah without looking at other ayat in the same topic. Conclusion could be seriously erroneous. There is another aspect also. The ulama distinguish between the various texts, even the text of the Quran, in terms of definitiveness of meaning. Qat'i, this the Islamic Arabic term for it. Qat'i means a text that cannot be really interpreted in any other legitimate way unless you're playing acrobatics with language or, going through all kinds of argumentation trickery. For example, that salah is required of Muslims, nobody can dispute of that. Say, no, maybe only at the time of the Prophet, but now we're too busy. Something that's really definitive. It has to meet strict criterion that no other way of looking at it, respecting the language, respecting the integrity and overall teaching of the Quran. But not all the Quran is qat'i. There are many, many verses in the Quran and ahadith also, as they say, dhanni. I'm not going to confuse anyone by getting into the dhanni in terms of narration or dhanni in terms of interpretation. I'm focusing now on interpretation. The word dhanni or mutashabih has variety of meaning. I have to caution you. For example, in the beginning surah, a few verses in Al Imran, the third surah, هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات هن أم الكتاب وأخر متشابهات. It's Allah is the one who revealed to you the Quran. Of this Quran, there are ayat that are muhkamat. We talked about definitive meaning, and that's why Allah calls it. These are the mother of the book, the foundational of everything that Islam is all about. And then it says others are mutashabihat. But the caution we need to have here is that the word mutashabihat has variety of meaning depending on the context. In the context of Ali Imran, it might be dealing with ayat that are related to unseen, that our mind cannot fully discern, like Al-Arsh, the throne of Allah and so on. That's why it criticizes those who say فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ ابْتِغَاءَ الْفِتْنَةِ وَابْتِغَاءَ تَأْوِيلِ. And if you continue the ayah, the reference here is in the context of the unseen. Wasting our time and energy and qadar and all of this, these are not things that our limited human intellect and reasoning can answer fully. But mutashabihat in other meanings also can refer to ayat that I prefer to say non-definitive rather than undefinitive. Non-definitive. It's slightly less than saying, it is not definitive. So, but how do you follow a book which is non-definitive? No. I'm saying non-definitive, that means it could be legitimately interpreted or understood in more than one way. So we're not forbidding from doing that. But in the meantime, whenever there appear to be any apparent contradiction, I say apparent because it could be wahm, it could be just imagination that there's contradiction. If I have time, I could give you example of that. But in fact, if you look at it, there is no contradiction on the surface of it. If we face two texts, one is definitive in meaning, one is not definitive, which one should be interpreted in the light of the other? Obvious. The non-definitive must be understood in the light of the definitive. The ulama, they say, رد الظن أو رد المتشابه إلى المحكم. Very quickly, again, I'll finish after that slide, which will be fast, Jamal. A general term that is used in the Quran and Hadith also sometimes fall into a category which not necessarily refer to the whole universe. For example, the word women. Some people may say all women from the time of Hawa until the day of judgment. And nas, people. Well, there are certain contexts that shows an-nas means all human from the beginning to the end. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, Allah is the Lord of an-nas. In that context, it is inclusive of everyone, all human beings. But in the same Quran also we find, like I think it's Ali Imran also, an-nas is used to refer to a certain group of people because the context was different historically. People of the book, when the Quran criticizes some actions of people of the book, it doesn't mean all people of the book. It could refer only to some. The term for that in usul, they say al-am alladhi yuradu bihi al-khas. It's just leave it at that. All right. 6, something that we need to be quite clear when we read or hear about different fatwas on the same issue. Sometimes, if we look carefully at the basic Islamic values, such as mercy, peace, justice, you name it, coexistence, and so on, things that are definitive in the Quran values, and you compare the two fatwas, you might find that one of them seems to abide more and does not contradict with these fundamental and basic values of Islam. So it's not just mechanical rules how to interpret, but also the spirit of mercy, for example, that we see in the Prophet ﷺ interpretation or action when the issue was bayna bayn. It could be this or that. He always took the side of mercy and leniency. Finally, interpretations are not to be done in vacuum. It has to be done within the fundamental maqasid al-Sharia, the supreme objectives of Sharia. So you don't say, I interpret it this way, even though it contradicts with, for example, the priority of saving life. You run into this kind of problems. It has to be considered, and inshallah we'll come to that when we talk about shahada, the testimony, and what context and what objective of Sharia might be related to, hopefully, a better understanding of this ayat. Now, one of the first 5 major issues is what I call dealing with marital problem. Because you don't jump to divorce, you don't jump to refraction or nushuz before first finding what is the broad approach that the Quran provides how to deal with family problems or spousal marital problems. It is actually divided into four aspects, perhaps. One, before the crime arises. Secondly, how do we understand the ayah about nushuz, that's Surah 4, ayah 34? What is the context of this ayah? If we analyze also the words and terminology, what does it mean? Thirdly, we take some aspect of this ayah, which is private resolution, an attempt to private resolution of the problem between husband and wife. And fourthly, we come to the issue of whether, quote unquote, beating, is that a correct word? Is that a problem, or does it solve a problem? And also other aspects in the Quran that deal with disputes such as family conciliation. I'll just give you the broader picture, even on that subtopic, and then let's take it one by one. First, to avoid marital problem in the Islamic way is the proper choice, whether husband or wife. It applies to both. And we followed in that the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. We all know that. The right choice, which include, by the way, also compatibility, both in terms of religiously as well as likes and dislikes, because that's part also of mawadda that can, or love that can be generated between husband and wife. Number two, something that we are very short of, other communities have been ahead of us. Ideally, what we need is professional Islamic counseling. But unfortunately, you might get so many good professionals, you get so many scholars, but to combine both is very difficult. So that should be our ideal. However, for the time being, if many of the imams, especially in major centers, get some training in counseling, they have the Sharia knowledge. So if you compensate that shortage in terms of professionality in counseling, but otherwise some intermediate solution could work. Thirdly, both husband and wife, and that's based even on the Quran and Hadith, by the way, should have realistic expectation of one another. Don't expect that you're going to marry a woman in the caliber of Khadija radiallahu anha, or for a sister, a person in the caliber of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I learned that from Imam Siraj one time. He said, some women come to you, I said, if my wife is only like Khadija or Aisha, and he retorted back, and if you are also like Muhammad or Abu Bakr, so we have to have reasonable expectation. We should never lose sight of the purpose of marriage. Otherwise, we're just marrying as a cultural thing. This is the right thing to do. Of course, the Quran summed it up in Surah Al-Rum. لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة. So there's peace, tranquility, you can translate it, comfort are all related, love and kindness. Also, mutual tolerance and forgiveness, because no matter what effort you're doing in the proper choice, you're not marrying an angel. Angel, male or female, I think the word angel applies to both of them. Anyway, when the initial period of the beauty of marriage and so on sets in, you deal with people day in and day out, and every human being has some kind of shortcoming. And the Quran, as well as the Prophet ﷺ, teach us not to jump to conclusions and to be tolerant, patient, and forgiving to one another. One of the beautiful statements in the Quran, وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ فَإِنْ كَرِهْتُمُوهُنَّ فَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا وَيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. Saying to husband, عاشر, dwell with your wives in ma'ruf, and in what is decent, commonly accepted as decent, because even if you hate them for some reason, justified or not in your mind, you may be hating someone in whom Allah has placed so much good. The same, the hadith and Quran, if it is sahih, never contradict the Quran. It confirm and explain and articulate the Quran so that we can know how to apply it. The hadith, لا يفرق مؤمن مؤمنا إن كره منها خلقا رضي منها آخر. Let no believing man, but in that case husband, a believing husband, hates his wife. If he disliked something of her character, he should find something else to please him, which again the sense of balance and reason, not just I am perfect, everybody else can't reach me. All right, the second question, going to this ayah again, ayat al-nushuz. First of all, before we look at this ayah, it is one ayah among dozens and dozens of ayat in the Quran and dozens of hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you really want to find fault, somebody just want fishing for something, they behave as if there is nothing in the Quran. Cancel all these dozens of ayat, cancel all of this hadith, and explain to me this. And even what they ask you to explain, they don't understand it. So it is essential, and I'm not doing that here, but just as a methodological issue, that we should, as we said earlier, look at other ayat about women. And overwhelmingly, what we find that Islam, through teaching, not actions of Muslim or some Muslim, honored the female as a child, as a wife, as a mother, as a sister, you name it, especially as a mother. You know the man who came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, who among all people is most worthy of my companionship and love? He said, your mother. Who's next? He said, your mother. Who's next? Your mother. Only the fourth time the Prophet said, and your father. I always put it for years in Olympic terms, the gold medal for the mother, the silver medal for the mother, the bronze medal for the mother, the father may get some appreciation certificate. You're not used to hearing that. No, I love that brother. He knows what he's talking about. Anyway, so there is immense evidence for that. So keep that in mind. The purpose is to honor, not to degrade or to consider inferior. Secondly, when people keep arguing, and I'm fortunate, I've seen in the writing of some Islamic scholars, we love them, we respect them, but nobody is infallible after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That they say men afdal min al-rijal. I heard it for one great mufti even one time. Al-rijal afdal man is superior to woman. Now, which word really would put that argument to rest better than the word of Allah Himself in Surah Al-Hujurat? Inna akramakum, and by the way, the ayah begins, Ya ayyuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. So it mentioned male and female specifically. But it ends, we make you nations and tribes, ila akhruh, and it says, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is one who is most righteous. Righteousness is not the domain or property, exclusive property of men or women. It is open for competition. So that the notion of afdal, this ayah, not only in terms of men and women, race, color, you name it, because it's an-nas, the khitab, the address is to all mankind, not only to Muslims. Thirdly, when we talk about the context of the Quran, it comes at various levels. The first and immediate context is what are the ayahs before, even before that becomes specific. What is the surah in which this ayah appears, and what are some of the basic themes of the surah? Surah An-Nisa is clearly a surah about justice and protection of those who are vulnerable. From the very beginning, it speaks about the rights of orphans and women as we move throughout the surah. So the context again confirms as a subset the whole big picture in the Quran about dealing with that topic. But then comes specifically to the ayah. I'm not going to go around so that we avoid it. Put things in context. And even before you reach ayah 34, you find in ayah 32 in the same surah, ولا تتمنوا ما فضل الله به بعضكم على بعض. Basically it says, don't crave what Allah gave more to one of you over the other. It didn't say what Allah gave to men to be superior, but not to women. And as Sheikh Sha'rawi rahimahullah was explaining that, maybe 30 years ago, I was listening to his lecture, and he said, when the Quran says بعضهم على بعض, it means it is a mutual kind of extra that Allah gave to one sex or gender over the other. He gave examples not only in the case of women. He said in any society you need doctors, you need engineers, you need plumbers, you need builders. These are interrelated functions for a society to work. It doesn't mean that one is superior before Allah because he happened to be a doctor or engineer or this or that. In the case of women, because the ayah actually related and a prelude to ayah 34 that we're coming to, which means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given men something extra. Well, physiologically, muscle power, even though this is not the only power in many societies still. Why? Because Allah created men, and He entrusted them with qiwama that will come to spend on their family. A woman in Islam is not required to work to earn her living if she's married. It is the responsibility of her husband, even if she has money of her own, doesn't have. So it talks about accepting. To me, it reads, accept the diversity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created in His eternal wisdom by giving each gender something that the other doesn't have. He gave women the tenderness, the love, the patience with raising children, the pain they go through, as the Quran mentioned. These are things to adore her. Men don't have that, but they have something different. It's almost like you get an A and B plus in one subject, I get in different subject B plus and A. What is the difference? It is balanced, and the talents vary, as we know in taking courses like this. So gender variations is to be welcomed and accepted, not frowned upon. The notion of anything that you can do, we can do better. Yes, you might. A woman, yes, can drive a 16-wheeler truck, fine. But her role as a mother is much more than 700-wheel truck. You know, this complementarity and need for both. Coming specifically to the ayah. What is the context of the ayah? Going beyond the ayat before or after. The ayat, analysis of the ayah. First of all, it begins with the concept of qiwama. الرجال قوامون على النساء. This is a often misunderstood text or word even in the Quran. As the ulama say, قوامون come from قام على الشيء, means stand up for some responsibility. That means they are responsible to provide, I'm summing up because of time, to provide, to support, to protect, and lead the family. Lead. So they should be superior. No. Leadership in Islam is not a position of superiority, it is a position of responsibility, especially in the marital type of relation. Okay? And again, obedience to the leader is not unqualified. Even Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whose integrity and justice can never be questioned. I mean, who else can be just if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wasn't? Yet, in Surah 60, Al-Mumtahana, when Allah was directing him to take the oath from women, that they will not make shirk and they will not do vice as when they come muhajirat, immigrating from Mecca to Medina. You know what it says also? وَلَا يَعْصِينَكَ فِي مَعْرُوفٍ وَلَا يَعْصِينَكَ, and that they will not disobey you, O Prophet. If the ayah stopped at here, it makes a lot of sense. Of course, how do you disobey your Prophet? But even then, Allah is reminding us not that there's any question about His Prophet. He knows him better than we do, but to give a lesson to us to humble ourselves. That even the Prophet was told that they do not disobey you in any reasonable request, ma'roof, not excessive, not capricious. Not that the Prophet could have done it, but so that we, as husband or people in responsibility, remember that we don't have absolute power because of leadership. It is a responsibility. And then it praises righteous women. Notice here, they just go through the ayah until they come to the word, وَضْرِبُوهُنْ. Wait a minute. It praises women in the beginning still of the ayah. فَالصَّالِحَاتُ قَانِتَاتِ إلى آخر الآية. I noted something. I went through the concordance of the Quran and looked for the term qanitat, or a similar term derived from the same root, qanitat. I found that 13 ayah that at least are listed, 12 of them applies only and only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. سيدنا إبراهيم قانتا لله حنيفا. عن مريم اقنتي لربك. 12 ayah where qunut is not to the husband, is only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The exception is no exception really, because there is one incident only. وَمَنْ يَقْنُتْ مِنْ كُنَّ لِلَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. You are qanit if you take it obedient, but that's a superficial meaning. Okay, to Allah and His Messenger. But the word qunut or qanitat in the verbal form applies to this. But this is not exception really, because according to the Quran, obedience to the Prophet ﷺ in things that he teaches us as the Prophet of Allah, what he received from Allah, is obligatory. Man yuta' al-rasula faqad ata'a Allah. The Quran says whoever obeys the Prophet is obeying Allah. So it's not really exception. The reason of this thing that I really started looking at is that some of the mufassirin say فَالصَّالِحَاتُ قَانِتَاتٌ حَافِظَاتٌ لِلْغَيْبِ بِمَا حَفِظَ اللَّهِ. There is something that relates to Allah, and something relates to also their obligation toward their husband. And some say qanitat means to Allah and their husbands. To Allah and their husband. My research shows that it hasn't been used at all except for Allah, and by exception in one case to the Prophet. But ta'ah, obedient, which appear in the Quran, appears also in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ praising women who are obedient to their husbands. It is not qanitat in the absolute sense, which means it is qualified. Furthermore, the Quran say do not disobey in something that's ma'ruf. So does the hadith also of the Prophet ﷺ. First, there is one limitation, more important. لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. There is no obedience that is due to anyone, whether ruler, ruled, husband, wife, boss, employed. No human being can be obeyed if the order is in disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet ﷺ, إنما الطاعة في المعروف. Obedience is only in something that's decent and reasonable. So that leads me to humbly, and I stand corrected, there are scholars here, of course it would be their obligation to correct me if the istidlal is wrong, that the more likely meaning that the word qanitat lillah, and then they have also non-contradiction, absolute obedience to Allah, qualified obedience to their husband in ma'ruf. Third element of the private resolution with the guidance, and this we're continuing with the same ayah, just put it under this classification. Private measures to resolve marital problem between husband and wife. The verse is not about any women. The context, to my humble understanding, I respect differing views. To my humble understanding, the context of this ayah is marital relationship. Okay? So when it says women, the word women here, as we said earlier, is not للاستغراق for all women. In that context, it speaks about husbands. Okay? It deals with refraction or nushuz. It's very difficult to put it all in one word. However, I found that perhaps this description might be reasonable. Not the only one, not the best, but reasonable. Unreasonable, haughty, and disrespectful attitudes that threatens the family stability. Not just an argument between husband and wife, it happens all the time. Like a serious kind of defiance that threatens the family. It's not that because she didn't obey him to cook him something and she cooked something else. These are trivialities. Some people unreasonably abuse that. No, something really serious. Okay. And why did you get the word haughty? Because the word nushuz comes from nashaz in Arabic, meaning put themselves high. Nashaz, nashes, as if no authority, no reasonableness, my way or the highway type of attitude. But even that, what to do with that? The Quran started first in the same ayah. فَعِذُهُنْ exhort them. And exhort them not by threats, by kindness. Because the Quran even speaks about da'wah. Even to non-Muslims it says, بِالْحِكْمَةِ wisdom, وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ maw'idha or exhortation, that's nice. That, build on love, not hatred. Build on reconciliation, not you versus me type of. عِذُهُنْ is a beautiful word, even in terms of its usage. Okay? Who has the right to exhort? How about the husband? How about if the husband is nashes also? It's always women who are accused of that? No. Nushuz of husband is mentioned right in the Quran. وَإِنِ امْرَأَةٌ خَافَتْ مِنْ بَعْلِهَا نُشُوزًا أَوْ إِعْرَاضًا فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا أَنْ يُصْلِحَا بَيْنَهُمَا صُلْحًا وَالصُّلْحُ خَيْرٌ. It's a beautiful ayah. It shows that either of them can exhort the other. It says if a woman, meaning wife in that context, fears two things from her husband. First, it says nushuzan, that he also is too haughty, is too unreasonable, and so on. أو إعراضا, that he's neglecting her, not paying much attention to her. It says there is no blame on them to make reconciliation, and reconciliation is best. Okay? So yes, there is even a Quranic basis that either side can exhort the other if he feels he's not behaving Islamically. وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ إلى آخر آية. That's in Surah At-Tawbah, I think ayah 77-1. The believing men and believing women, they are supporters, awliya, supporters, helpers of one another. And one of the first description, they ordain what is good, they forbid what is bad. Didn't say men only ordain them to do the good. Men and women alike are supposed to engage in ordaining the good and forbidding bad, and that apply in the family, which is even the more logical to start with. 5. If the problem persists, the ayah says, وَهْجُرُهُنَّ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ. This is very important. If the problem persists, suspend, you might call the intimate matrimonial relationship without leaving the home, without getting and sleeping in the couch in the living room apart. في المضاجع, in. That means everything is normal. You sleep in the same bed, but suspend the. Is that a solution? Well, not for everyone. She might be more persistent, but maybe for some it might. You try by process of elimination, and people of feather. There is always virtue of trying something peaceful. No shouting, no bad word, nothing. Suspension. Maybe for someone we say, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong that he doesn't even, kiss me or good night or whatever. It may. There's no harm of trying that. But a lot of people continue with the ayah and come to the word وَاضْرِبُوهُنْ. It is not actually necessarily the third step. Not necessarily. Why? Because elsewhere in the Quran, and I give you this ayah in the same surah, Surah An-Nisa, they reaching out to family members to help them resolve the problem. Okay? فإن خفتم جزاك الله خير وإن خفتم شقاق بينهما فابعثوا حكما من أهله وحكما من أهلها إن يريد إصلاحا يوفق الله بينهم. If you feel that there will be big problems between husband and wife, and that's khitab applies, by the way, is to the community at large, or the family or community. Okay, send one arbiter from her family, some from his family, not a big committee to make a big fight. Some who's trusted by the side, one from the other family trusted. If indeed their niyyah, their sincere intention is to make reform and reconcile, Allah will help them achieve that. That ayah, I don't know why can't we say, for the absence of any other evidence, why can't that be used as a third step, not necessarily going to the sequence? The sequence is not binding, except maybe for the first two that are totally peaceful ones. So this is again a humble ijtihad of understanding that the ayah is not restricted by time. When, indeed, even before أهجرهن في المضاجع, I don't see any problem if indeed the family steps in, but it might be preferable to have it first privately before it spins out. So this is a humble thing that again I need correction if I'm wrong on that. It is mutlaqa, and it's not in the sequence even of the ayat. It's coming later in the surah. All in all, divorce really should be the last resort, not to have a family at any price and unhappiness, but so long as it's possible to repair before you throw it away, because we're living in a culture of throw away. You know, a huge, big, expensive equipment, something slightly, throw it away. It could be just getting 2 pounds per part and fix it. No, try to fix, if possible at all. Now, the fourth part. What is beating, or is beating as normally translated a solution or a problem? First of all, the word daraba, from which come اضربوهن as a command. By the way, to correct something first, it appears as if this is instruction from the Quran, amr, isn't it? And that's why you find some people writing, polemical writing, say the Quran instructs husbands to beat women, or to beat, sometimes they say beat women, but this is wrong here. You don't beat your mother, you know, or daughter. Okay, so women here, mukhassasa, in the context, you know, your wives. How the Quran instructs, even if they correct that part, instruct husbands to beat their wives. Let's look at it very carefully. The word daraba as a verb, or in the root da, ra, and be, without vowel signs. Anyway, you know, it has many people kept on and on and on referring to ayat in the Quran that it used in more than 12, maybe more even, meanings. Come in the Quran, يَضْرِبُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ, meaning to travel around on the earth. مش يضربون في الأرض, hold the stick and hit the earth. Okay? Allah ضرب لكم مثلا. Allah ضرب مثل. Allah did not beat a similitude, but this is what it means, gave you. So there are, yes. في also one meaning that some people got fascinated with. Daraba means to go away, and on and on. So I have to recognize, to start with, that it has, yes, daraba, several meaning other than what people call beat. However, the English terms actually to translate daraba for wife, even though it may be lexically correct, it is incorrect because the lexical meaning is qualified by the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ and also the Quran as well. So don't say the lexically, that's what it means. Okay? Lexically speaking, and I checked that in an English dictionary, you can check on me, and I checked one. I didn't check all dictionaries, but daraba sometimes comes as scourge, slap. Slap, by the way, is qualified by hadith. Even it says if someone used physical thing, never slap the face because that's an insult of the face that Allah created. Anyway, slap, beat, hit. I checked each and every meaning, lexical meaning, none of which is really as consistent with the limitation provided by the Prophet ﷺ. It is far harsher, just read scourge, far harsher than the meaning that the Sahaba understood, and that's what is consistent with all the teaching of the Quran. These are faulty ones. And if you want specific ahadith, on the internet you can find my humble little books called Gender Equity in Islam. It's available for free reading, some sites even. Gender Equity in Islam, with a number of ahadith has been narrated. I'll just say quickly some of them, that if you look at how the Prophet ﷺ restricted it, it means nothing, when it says not severe, for example, nothing but a symbolical expression of displeasure. When Ibn Abbas was asked, if I do that, if I take that stage of idribuhun, what should I use? So he said, bil miswak. You know the miswak? Something about that height. I have seen 10 centimeter miswak, 15 centimeter miswak, never 3 meters miswak. So even then, that shows again, it is symbolical rather than really punitive. The other thing that one has to keep in mind, that time changed and culture changed, like Tahir bin Ashur, the great North African scholar and mufassir also. He speaks about some of Bedouin women who would not mind something of that in the past. But in fact, in our times today, we're not changing the Quran, we're not cancelling or freezing, but what are the consequences of using even the slightest thing that, hey, stop it. With the miswak, something that the Sahaba said, anything that doesn't leave even a mark on the body, nothing to do with the face, no injury, nothing. See, come on, these sort of things. Even that today, you get an educated, sophisticated woman, a professional woman. For some of them, that would be the end of marriage. And that relates to a very important rule in usul al-fiqh, legal theory in Islam, known as fiqh al-ma'alat, which basically, to put it in an oversimplified way, that if something is permissible, but if you do it, it would cause greater harm than benefit. It would destroy the marriage. So what's the sense then? See, I can give you examples even from the opinions of Ibn Taymiyyah about people who were drinking at the time of the invasion and so on. And he said, let them drink. He said, how come? The hududullah, we should punish them. He said, no. If they get sober, they might kill more Muslims. See, you have to keep in mind also the setting in which these are applied. Inshallah, I received a note a few seconds ago that there's 10 minutes. Okay. I'll speed up. Okay. All right. Since I mentioned earlier that there is a presentation already of Dr. Suhaib Ahmed, but I just, Suhaib Hasan, I'm sorry. Just to put it just in one word, the statement that there is a general rule that a female, because she is a female, takes half the share of the male is a myth. It applies only when the relationship is the same, like brother and sister, and there's good reason also for that. But there are cases where male and female inherit equally. This is a case here, 1/6 ولأبويه لكل واحد منهم السدس. There are cases where a woman may inherit more. There are cases where a female inherits more. There are cases where a female inherits, but a male does not inherit. Like if there is a son and uncles, for example, then the uncles would take less because she takes 1/3, for example, if she has a brother. I mean, the examples have been studied carefully, and those interested, there is an excellent book by Dr. Salah Sultan, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help him and his brothers and sisters who are suffering for the sake of haqq. Anyway, he has a book, it's called امتياز المرأة على الرجل في الميراث والنفقة. He says overall women are more favored over men in the matter of inheritance and not inheritance and nafaqa, expenditure. Because like I said earlier, again in my book there is a little reference to that. The obligation on male is to provide for his wife even if she's richer than him. So she inherits half but from her family, but she keep investing that, not responding to spend a penny. All falls on the shoulder of the husband. So I'll skip that and come to the question of shahada very quickly, because I'd like to get at least one of those hadith. The others could be picked up. The male witness. I quote you, this is an important one because many people are not aware of it. The best English translation I have ever seen is one by a graduate from Al-Azhar who got all his degrees, including PhD from Al-Azhar. He's a specialist also in translation. It was, I think, published first 2015. An excellent one. He says, generally speaking, when talking about shahada, generally speaking, there is a difference between witnessing and giving testimony. Witnessing, like you have some people sitting there making a contract and you're a witness. There is wedding and there are a couple of people who are witnesses. He says this is different from testimony before the court of law. This is an important difference before a judge. The ayah in which some people think it proves that the shahada of women is only worth half of man, and that's the only place it appears in the Quran where it says 2 women, 2 men, or 1 woman and 2 men. This ayah has nothing to do with testimony before court of law, but it has something to do with witnessing a debt contract. And the ayah is known as the ayah of debt, 282 in Surah Al-Baqarah, financial contract. So this is one response or correction. Secondly, the reason is given in the Quran, أن تضل إحداهما. I don't agree with those who say تضل means forget. Are women the only ones who forget? Ask wives how many times their husbands remember their anniversary. Others translated as confused. Are women the only species that get confused? So some people put you in a box that you have to choose this or that. In my humble understanding, reflecting on what I read and also on the wording, actually the two are related. How? If you're sitting with medical doctors, they're talking about their shop talk. Even if you're highly intelligent, you're a PhD, but that's not your field. Aren't you likely to forget some of the discussion because you're not as interested, right? But you go with other doctors, sharp, you're paying attention. So, how does that relate specifically? In societies, in the past and even today, people will not pay attention to what doesn't concern them as much. And many societies, until today, it is the husband who is more familiar with business. Lots of exceptions, including Khadija radiallahu anha, who was an excellent, successful businesswoman. But many may not be responsible for providing for the family because men, I'm not talking only about affluent societies, men all over the world are really working hard and trading and buying and selling to support their family. Okay? So maybe that witness, if she's not familiar, she is not as attentive, so confusion is resulting from forgetfulness of some points that are crucial when you talk at the legal precision of the contract. So if she forgets or gets confused, are actually related. And the Quran gives the rationale. فَتُذَكِّرَ إِحْدَاهُمَا الْأُخْرَى. So the other one would remind her, not because it's half. If it's degrading, then she shouldn't be allowed to give testimony at all. But nobody said that. Okay? تُذَكِّر. Okay, two people who are not familiar with business, but there is an important issue here. Is the testimony a means or an end that you have to respect it and never change it? It is a means to an end. It is not a ibadah to give testimony, except in the broader meaning of ibadah, fulfill your duty. But actually, testimony is a means to establish justice. And that is why the Quran has this precise, witnessing and understand everything that goes. A contract that could be witnessed by people without writing, even though the Quran says you should write, but suppose you get a situation. So this is a very serious issue. But there is a rule also in jurisprudence that we can relate here. Again, this shows the integrity and interrelatedness of all Islamic disciplines, whether it's tafsir, hadith, Islamic legal theory. That basically say in Arabic, الحكم يدور مع علته وجودا وعدما. That is, the best translation I've seen is effective cause. It's different from hikmah. Effective cause of a particular ruling is, it is based on, it is the source of that hukm or ruling. And if that effective cause changes, the ruling could also change. To apply it here, if the illah from the Quran and tadilla ihdahuma, if one is get confused and forget, to be more accurate, the other one would remind her. If that illah is not there, how? If you get a woman witness who, I'm exaggerating, but for just to make the point, with a PhD from Harvard University or University of London in specializing in finance. And there is another man who's a person like me, an ordinary person, okay, whose testimony or witness, to be more accurate, whose witness is to be more credible. So the illah that the ayah mentioned is not there. If indeed, as we know today, lots of women have lots of experience. Testimony of women alone is as accepted in feminine matter. Testimony of women is accepted even for moon sighting. That's the ibadah. So I'd like to conclude with that because I think 2 minutes, okay. That we have to keep in mind also maqasid al-sharia. What is the maqasid of sharia? Imperative of justice. So we destroy the maqsid, objective, for the sake of arguing about the means, how many women, how many men. And this is something that goes against total picture. Witnessing and even testimony before a judge are so an end. Since I have only 2 minutes, but I think it's one of the most serious hadith. I live the one so-called women are deficient in mind and religion, because the text of the hadith, by the way, is not like that. Anyway, majority of women in the hellfire. First of all, the literal interpretation of hadith is contrary to dozens of ayat and hadith. The Quran is clear. Anyone who does righteous deed and is a believer, man or woman, will get their reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never we find any text in Quran or hadith and say you go to Jannah on the basis of being male or female. So if you take it literally, obviously it is totally off. Good deeds is what matters. Again, the statement did not say the majority of women are in hell. The Prophet ﷺ, addressing some Ansari women in Medina. And Ansari women were known historically to be women who were very strong, unlike the Meccans, who prevail over their husbands. Okay? So with addressing this particular group of women, never used لغة الاستغراق, the generalization. All women are like that. Okay. This is, but about those, and it is connected, not even these particular women, not all of them, but there is also description. They asked, why, O Prophet of Allah? There are two crucial hadith in that. One is takfurna al-la'na wa takfurna al-ashir, that you keep cursing too much and you also never grateful to your husband. In another hadith it mentioned also يعني takfurna al-ashir, but then elaborated. It says, if you do good to a woman of that type, mean good all your life, and you did something wrong to her, she said, I've never seen any good of him. So what we're saying here, that even the qualified group of women, it is not because they're women, but because of the bad behavior. Ibn Hajar, the famous commentator on Sahih al-Bukhari, he also indicated that his understanding also of that is that this apply only to the women who have that bad character, to encourage them to give it up. Okay? It is not because of their gender. And that's hadith apply only to those not. Furthermore, to say that they are in the hellfire, that we find more than one ayah in the Quran that Allah will forgive everything except for shirk. So how come they go to that? So the language of exhortation should not be taken literally in a way that contradicts the Quran and Sunnah. And I conclude with this one. It's amazing. After the evidence that was given, this hadith was okay. I stop with this language of exhortation. And the point here is this: it is logically contradictory, because there is also another hadith. The Prophet ﷺ say, I looked into paradise and I found most of the dwellers are the poor. I looked into the paradise on the hellfire and I found that most of the dwellers are the rich. Is rich a sin and poverty a virtue? How about a poor woman who's not good woman? Okay? Poor woman. The hadith applies to her. She curses and this and that, if we take it literally. So she should go to the hellfire. But because she's a woman, because she's poor, she should go to Jannah. Which way to go? When you find signs on the way, you get confused. You go here or there. Okay? How about a rich person like Abu Bakr, like Abdurrahman ibn Auf, like Uthman ibn Affan? Very rich, super rich. But they are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we know their generosity. Where do they go? Do they go to Jannah because of good deeds, or to the hellfire because of their rich? See the issue. It's just Islam is not against proper sense guided by Sharia. So obviously, it's a matter of maybe reminder to be grateful to Allah. To say that a rich who's not using this wealth to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then beware, you could go to Jahannam because of that greed. A woman who's poor, or a man who's poor, okay, a woman who's poor, and she's not sinning all that time, you're guaranteed Jannah because you're a female, or male for that matter. Let's apply proper sense, proper methodology, integrative approach of what Islam is all about. And the more you study, the more even what appears to be negative will be so beautiful once we understand it. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Jamal. Our next speaker is Sister Noha Omari. Sister Noha Omari is a lecturer from Saudi Arabia who has delivered talks for the past 15 years. She has dedicated her life to revitalization of Islamic values within the individuals and community. Sister Noha is the founder of Khutanet, over 300 hours of enriching Arabic and English content. Through her live and recorded lectures and talks, and using her unique style, Noha connects the rich history of Islam with today's world and offers an applicable approach towards a balanced and positively impactful Muslim identity. The topic of presentation of Sister Noha is Reflecting from Surah Taha. Sister Noha Omari.
Can I use this one?
Yeah.
I can move the slides with this. Doesn't fit. Yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd like to ask a favor, if you don't mind. Do you mind standing up? Everybody please stand up for about 15 seconds. Just stretch. Take a breather. Say salamu alaikum to the person next to you. Give them a hug, a kiss or something. Yes, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Jazakum Allahu khaira. Everybody sit down. Thank you so much. We need to stretch. Exactly. $30 minutes. I need you please to be my timekeeper.
Yeah, you're starting at 3:19, so I will give you the extra 9 minutes.
Thank you. Shall I wait for the brothers to sit, or shall I just begin?
Yeah, go ahead. So they will sit.
Begin?
Can you use the PowerPoint display properly, because you're actually not on it. You need to use the
What do I don't know what.
Yeah.
So if you can help me, yeah.
It's bugging me the last. There you go.
Lovely. Thank you. My name is Noha. I'm from Saudi, and Dr. Jamal, thank you for a wonderful talk. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us, inshallah, the benefit of this wonderful talk. And by the way, I'm from those Medina women, the ones you've mentioned in your lecture. I'm from Medina, so if I do have that strength, my husband is sitting in the audience, maybe he will help us with that question. If I do have that kind of strength, may Allah grant me that strength in the name of haqq, inshallah, for the sake of haqq, inshallah. I'm from Saudi, so I'm an Arab, and I lecture usually in Arabic. 95% of my lectures are in Arabic, and 5% are in English. So the percentage or the possibility of me getting stuck and doing blah, 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 doing that is quite high. So if I do that, I'll turn to you for help. Translation, quick. Inshallah. Inshallah, I will not get stuck. Inshallah. طيب. The name of my lecture today is quite a very unique name. It's not actually reflections from Surah Taha. The name is Alice in Wonderland. Who knows the movie Alice in Wonderland? Please raise your arm. Most of you know the Alice in Wonderland. Okay. Some people got really offended when I did this. I did this in Kuwait, and some people got really, really offended that how could you name a lecture about Quran, Alice in Wonderland? Well, you'll see as I go on, inshallah, there is like a connection. There's a very incredible connection. I need to explain something first about myself. What I do, I'm not a scholar, I'm not alima, I am not sheikha, I am not an ustad, I'm a simple housewife. I have two beautiful daughters, and what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to bridge between two worlds. The world of scholars and the normal average person like myself. There's so many young men and young women, so many. They are really far away from this. What I mean by far away, I mean from lectures, from knowledge, from the Muslims. They're not non-Muslims. I'm talking about Muslims. And what I try to do, what I'm trying to do for the last 15 years or more, I'm trying to bridge these two worlds, to simplify what the scholars are trying to say. The scholars are brilliant, they're teaching us so much, but unfortunately, most of the youth, they don't really connect, they don't really understand, and they don't really feel that this is relatable to my life. And this is one. The second thing is, I try to look at the Quran and I try to look at Sirah, which is I love. I'm a student of Sirah. I've been teaching Sirah and studying Sirah for the last 8 years. And what I found is, so all of it, not some of it, all of it is applicable in 2018. It's applicable 2020, 2015, 2025. It's applicable. So why most Muslims, especially the youth, they feel that all of this is unapplicable, unapplicable? We cannot apply this. And religion is in one sector, and then life, real life, is completely unrelated and unconnected to this. And that's really, it hurts me a lot. And this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build bridges between these two worlds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant me, inshallah, the wisdom and the hikmah and the proper words and grammar, inshallah, so I don't make mistakes, minimum mistakes, inshallah. So I will reach my point, inshallah, is it the simplest way possible. Alice in Wonderland, the reflections from Surah Taha. Let's begin with the story. Most of you know the story of Musa alayhi salatu salam. Musa alayhi salatu salam, as you all know, he spent his years growing up in Fir'aun's house, the Pharaoh's house, and then he left because he committed a murder by mistake. So he left and he went to Madian, and he lived there for a while with the Rajul al-Salih, the good righteous man. I'm skipping forward because I want to go quick so I can reach this ayah, this particular scene where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us something. And then Musa alayhi salam, after he finished his assignment or his business dealing with this man, he got married, one of the girls, and he left because he felt homesick. Subhanallah, Allah Azza wa Jal suddenly just gave him a feeling, I need to go home. And so many times Allah Azza wa Jal just gives you that it just pops inside your heart or your head. I need to get up and do something. I need to go. I need to call somebody. I need to go somewhere. And sometimes that is the door for you towards the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you don't really know it unless you actually get up and do it. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, Allah gave him that feeling that I need to go and see my mom. I need to go see my family. I miss them so much. I need to go home. Although his life is in danger, because if he goes back to Egypt, he might be killed because the Pharaoh wants to kill him. But, subhanallah, qadarillah azza wa jal, Allah wants this to happen, so He wills it, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Musa gets up and he starts his journey with his family towards Egypt, going home. On the way, something absolutely amazing happens. He gets lost. Now, you all know, after a few minutes or half an hour, he's gonna receive revelation. He's gonna become a prophet. He's gonna become one of the most amazing prophets, ulul azm. He's not just any prophet, kalimullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But before that, it was very essential and very important that he gets lost first. He needs to lose his way first before really finding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as if there is a message there already. I'm not going to say it, I'll just keep going, and hopefully, inshallah, this message will reveal itself as I go on, inshallah. So, he told his family, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وهل أتاك حديث موسى يا رسول الله يا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. The audience is Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم and the believers and the non-believers and the Muslims today are listening to this. We are the audience. Did you receive the news of Musa? Hadith is interpreted as news. It's not interpreted as the story or did you hear what happened with Musa? No. The proper translation for hadith is news, and news is usually associated with something really, really important. It's big news, so you really better listen to it. And this is what Allah is using, this kind of word to catch my attention as an audience to the story that He wants to reveal to me. He wants to teach me something. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. هل أتاك حديث موسى إذ رأى نارا فقال لأهلهم كثوا. He saw a fire far from away. Now obviously from the text or the wording used in the ayah that he saw fire. Usually when you're traveling in the desert, if you're going to see fire far away, it must have been nighttime. It cannot be daytime because no way that he's going to see it. So we understand from this that it's nighttime. And they got lost, and obviously we feel nervous that we are lost in the desert in the middle of nowhere. So he saw fire all the way far from away from what they're standing. فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِ. He told his family, umkuthu, stay here. But umkuthu is a very beautiful word. You must wait in anticipation. It's not just waiting. You must wait here and do not move, because this is a very dangerous area and we don't know what's kind of dangers lie about us. So wait for me here. I'll go quickly and then come back. إني آنست نارا لعلي آتيكم منها بقبس أو أجد على النار هدى. آنست. I have no idea how to translate this. I can say it in Arabic, but آنسة is from al-uns. It basically means that I saw something that's giving me comfort. What did you see? I saw fire. So what does that mean? It means that I might find somebody that can help us. Or I can find a torch. لعلي آتيكم منها بقبس. قبس is like a torch of fire. طيب أو أجد على النار هدى. Or I might find guidance, people there camping there, and they can guide us and help us. Again, we go back to being lost, and then the word huda, guidance. Subhanallah. Again, Allah is emphasizing he is lost and he needs help immediately. Subhanallah. فلما آتاها نودي يا موسى. He reached the fire. He reached the area, and then something absolutely amazing happened. It's dark, it's in the middle of nowhere, and you really need to picture this. What I love about the Quran, as a student of the Quran, I just love the imagery in the Quran. The human imagination is limitless. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to describe something to us, He just gives us this amazing imagery. He wants us to picture us. He wants us to see this. So he's literally in the middle of nowhere. He's absolutely nervous and he's afraid. And then it's dark. There's nobody there. Obviously his life could be in danger. His family could be in danger. And then suddenly he just hears, Musa, who's calling me? Hey, if there's somebody here, how do you know me? How do you know my name? I'm a stranger. Nobody knows me in this area. Maybe some people actually live here, but I am a stranger to this area. So you know me, you actually know me by name. So A, that there are noises, A. B, you know me. Oh my God, what's happening? What is this? So the fear is building up inside his heart. He doesn't feel, wow, this is amazing. No. He's nervous, he's afraid, he's confused. He's all sorts of feelings mixed together, coated and completely covered with the main feeling or the main worry, which is, I am lost. I need help and I need to get out of this area ASAP and quickly. I need to find my way. Ya Musa, inni ana rabbuk. I am your master, Ya Musa. Where is this voice coming from? You know that it was narrated that Sayyidina Musa was asked one day, how did you know that this is the voice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How? There was no indication, serious indication or obvious indications to begin with. He said, I could not find the source of the voice. Usually when somebody calls you out, you can sense where is the voice coming from. Left, right, back, up above, below me. The voice was all over me. It was on my left side. It was coming from my right side. It was coming from in front of me. It was coming from within me. I can hear this voice from within me. It was all everywhere. It's not like any other voice. Subhanak ya Allah. Inni ana rabbuk. Already the introduction has begun. I am your master. So in that in itself, it's suggesting that listen to me. I am not a normal voice that's calling you. You must listen from the minute go, from the first second. Listen. And here is the first lesson, everyone. We need to listen. Most of us, we do not listen. Most of us, we hear. But we don't actually listen. I know in this heat, it's very difficult to listen. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought us here. This is a gift. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded subhanahu wa ta'ala that we actually benefit from this gathering. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought some wonderful scholars for us to teach us. So this is an opportunity, and we must seize the opportunity to learn and listen. The only way we can actually benefit from anything, only when we listen. إن في ذلك لذكرى لمن كان له قلب أو ألقى السمع وهو شهيد. Surah Qaf. It is only the only way to benefit from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you have a heart, if you have an awakened heart, if you have a heart that really wants to learn and listen and change. And ألقى السمع, you literally ألقى, it's like throwing out your ear. It's like an expression. I'm really listening to what you're telling me. إني أنا ربك فاخلع عليك إنك بالوادي المقدس طوى. Take off your shoes. What? That's the first commandment. Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his first commandment was what? اقرأ. Correct? اقرأ. That's a very strange commandment. Take off your shoes. Why do I take off my shoes? He's learning something very important. Manners. You need to learn manners. Subhanallah, knowledge is based on two basic things. It's based on manners and education, both together. Today, knowledge everywhere, worldwide. They're focusing so much on knowledge. Knowledge. There's little manners. If I want Allah to teach me, because trust me, today what you're gonna walk out with, it has nothing to do with what I said or what my ulama said. Sorry, forgiveness. I don't mean to be disrespectful. What you're going to walk away with today, it's because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you that insight, that understanding. It is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we can only benefit if we actually humble ourselves in the presence of talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, talking about His prophets, and talking about His book and His words subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, if we do not have that, we can never learn anything and we can never benefit anything. Take off your shoes. إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِي الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوَى. You are at the sacred valley طُوَى. The name of it is طُوَى. وَأَنَا اخْتَرْتُكَ فَاسْتَمِعْ لِمَا يُوحَى. I used to read this, and I just read it again and again and again and again. It makes me cry, and I'm going to cry again. It makes me cry a lot. Because subhanallah, when Allah says, I chose you. You know, when you apply for university, when your son or daughter applies for university or for a certain job, and there's like a huge waiting list, and the candidates, the first and the second and the third, they couldn't make it, so they chose your son or they chose you from the waiting list. So you were not number one to begin with. They chose you because you were the next on the list. But you're not primary number one. And they tell you, well, you've been chosen because the other candidates, they couldn't make it, so come on, and we'll take you. But to begin with, when they actually send you an invitation letter and they tell you, we actually ask you, please, we want you to join us. We want you to be a part of this. And this establishment or university or company or a group, you feel so honored to be a part of. You just feel overwhelmed with Ya Allah, what is this? They actually chose me. Can you imagine when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells a slave of his, I chose you. I chose you. What is that? That's You know, we need to feel that. We need to feel that we've been chosen. You've been chosen. You and every one of us, we've been chosen. We know what others don't know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us so much that others don't know, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this in itself, we need to feel grateful for the rest of our lives. If we do sajda and we never ever raise our heads ever for the next 10, 20, 30 years, just to say thank you, that Ya Allah, you actually chose me, that's not even enough to say thank you. Not even enough, subhanallah. Nowadays, our main problem is everybody complains about everything. We complain about the economy, we complain about health, we complain about education, we complain about everything, literally. Husbands, obviously, we complain about you guys, definitely. We complain about everything. But little do we actually sit together and say, Alhamdulillah, we have a lot. We have Allah, we know Allah. We're just so lucky that Allah chose us. And Allah gave us this opportunity to be a part of His group, the believers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept us and grant us through Iman, inshaAllah. وَأَنَا اخْتَرْتُكَ فَاسْتَمِعْ لِمَا يُوحَى. I have chosen you, surely, me, no one else. So, فَاسْتَمِعْ. He didn't say isma'. In the Arabic language, every time you add, the Arabic grammar, every time you add a letter, you're actually emphasizing the عظمة, emphasizing كيف أقولها, emphasizing the significance of the verb, the order, the command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He didn't say isma'ni, isma', fasma', fastami'. He used more letters in the verb. Why? Because he's telling him, I need you to listen, really, really, really listen, as hard as you can, full concentration, full on. To what? Lima yuha. I'm going to command you now. I'm going to give you orders. I'm going to show you the way. I'm going to show you something that you need. Something you desperately need. There's a very big possibility that you never actually thought that you need it. Maybe you've been living all your life thinking, I don't need this. I'm fine, I'm okay. But no, you do need this. Lima yuha. Revelation. You cannot live without it. This is a maze. This world is a maze. And this revelation is the guidebook. It's the instructions that can help you go through this maze. So you reach your destination with little harm, not zero harm, but little harm. And maximum إنجاز. إيش إنجاز؟ Huh? Achievements. You will maximize your achievements. Your full potential will explode only if you listen to this revelation that I'm going to teach you and I'm going to tell you. إنني أنا الله لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدني وأقم الصلاة لذكري. No doubt, I am Allah. I am your master. This La ilaha illallah, there is only God, surely, definitely, only one God worthy of worship. No other, subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, sometimes, I'm a born Muslim, obviously. I've been a Muslim all my life. But not all my life I've been like this. I've lived in another way, another world, in a different completely setting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept my tawbah, and may Allah give me sitr, inshaAllah, and all of you with me, inshaAllah. And I tell you, definitely, the real meaning of La ilaha illallah is much more than words that we actually say. It's much more than actually something, oh yes, I do believe that I only worship Allah. Worshipping Allah is so deep, it's so immense, it's so incredible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to mention this himself subhanahu wa ta'ala as the first thing to Sayyidina Musa. Listen to this, I am your only master. فَعَبُدْنِي, you need to worship me. What is the meaning of worship? Sha'rawi rahimahullah has a beautiful and very simplified interpretation, like in a beautiful interpretation, rahimahullah. He said you need to listen to what Allah commands and you need to follow it. And you need to listen to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids and you need to leave it. As simple as that. That's worship. And I ask you, today, modern day life, today, we have so many aliha in our lives. So many. The boss in the company is a ilah. Fashion industry is a ilah. My children on their needs is another ilah. There's so many different aliha all over. I don't actually sit and think that I need to address every issue that I have with Allah. Does this fit into La ilaha illallah or it doesn't? It fits into something else. So I need to really measure it on myself. When Allah asks Musa alayhi salam, Innani an Allah la ilaha illa ana, you need to acknowledge this. And you need to really worship me only. Take your commands in your daily lives from me only and not from any other source. وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. This is absolutely amazing. Beautiful that he actually asked Sayyidina Musa to establish prayer. You need to understand something. He just got there. He's still afraid. He's in shock. It's nighttime. And this fire was not really a fire. It was something similar to a fire. And this noise is my master, the creator of heaven and earth, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he's telling me, I've chosen you for something really big, very important, and you must listen to it. Obviously, do I have a choice? Can I just leave? Can I just take a bit of fire and go home, go to my family? No, I've chosen you, so stay there and listen to me. So I don't have a choice. I need to listen and I need to understand what he's telling me, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I still feel confused. I don't know what's needed of me. I don't know what he wants from me. I don't know anything. I only know that he wants me to worship him. He wants me to take off my shoes, obviously. And then what next? I need you to establish salah. I need you to connect with me. لِذِكْرِي. To remember me. What is the purpose of all of this? So you will remember me. Every single thing you do. Do not forget me. There is immense danger, everyone, immense danger if we forget Allah even for 5 minutes. I teach usually, my students are between the ages of 20 and 35. And I remember this young lady once asked me, I don't understand, why is there so much dhikr? I just get confused. Hadith Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there's adhkar. There's adhkar for getting up, adhkar for the toilet, adhkar for washing, adhkar for dressing, adhkar for taking off your clothes. There's adhkar for everything. Seriously, I cannot remember all of this and I cannot do all of this. What's the purpose of all of this? I told her simply, so you will never ever stop remembering Allah. You'll be completely and absolutely always 24/7 connected to Allah. Can you imagine having a hotline to Congress? Can you imagine having a hotline to, I don't know, I don't know, what's an important, Parliament? Parliament? طيب, House of Lords, anybody? I don't know. Can you imagine having like a direct line with this power to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Basically, when you're doing so much, I need you to pray for that reason. I need you to remember that, and I need you to do it continuously so you would remember me. This is one of the first lessons he's learning before the assignment. He didn't get the assignment yet. He doesn't know what's required of him yet. And he still feels lost because I need to go back home to my family. They're in the middle of the desert and I need to finish up this quickly. Or I need to know, what do you want from me? Subhanak ya Rabbil Alameen. إن الساعة آتية أكاد أخفيها لتجزى كل نفس بما تسعى. No doubt, Ya Musa, no doubt the hour is coming. The hour, what hour? What are we talking about? The final hour. You need to just stop thinking. You need to stop planning. You need to stop feeling extremely hot and you can barely breathe, actually. Just stop everything and just have one image and one thought in your mind. Yawm al-Qiyamah, Judgment Day. Do you know that the verses of Al-Quran, 6,236 ayah in the Quran. طيب. Do you know how many ayat talk about Judgment Day? More than 3,700 ayat talk about Judgment Day. More, half of the Quran, more. Why? As if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He keeps on repeating Himself subhanahu wa ta'ala and reminding me again and again and again and again, continuously. Obviously I am insan, so I forget a lot. So He needs to remind me, do not forget this. So why are you telling Musa alayhi salam? He didn't get the assignment yet. He's going to get the assignment in a minute. I need you to focus on the end. Now He's going to begin. Now He's going to take the message. He's going to take revelation. I have 4 minutes left. He's going to take revelation And he's going to go to Fir'aun, and he's going to start a very, very exhausting, long journey with Fir'aun and Bani Israel, the children of Israel. Very long. So he still has a lot to live, طيب, and a lot to do. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, I need you now to shift your mind, shift your thinking to the hour. When is the hour? Am I gonna cross path with the hour? Actually, no. But why do I need to think of the hour? Because there is a very vital rule in life. Begin with the end in mind. Don't lose that. You have to have the end in mind because it helps us. It helps us focus. It helps us, it gives us strength. It gives us sense of direction. It gives me an idea, where am I going and where am I heading? There's so many people in the Islamic volunteering work, in the Islamic Dawah groups, different groups all over. Alhamdulillah, I've seen different groups in different places in different countries. And I tell you, so many, they're still doing what they're doing in the sake of Allah, but they've gone astray. Actually, they're not focused on what they should do and what they must do. The niyyah's gone. They're fighting over, is my name before his name or her name? Why is his picture above my picture? And why certain silly things, subhanallah. Inna as-sa'a atiyah. I almost gonna hide it. No, but I'm not gonna hide it. There's so many signs that it's coming. لِتُجْزَى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا تَسْعَى. And the purpose of this hour, the purpose of Yawm al-Qiyamah, very simple. I love the simplicity, how Allah simplifies things. Us Arabs, نتفلسف كتير. كيف أقولها دي يا دكتور؟ نتفلسف كتير. يعني we are the Arabs. I don't know about other cultures يعني, but the Arabs definitely. احنا نتكلم كتير وبنخربط كتير. خلاص, never mind. Don't translate. لِتُجْزَى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا تَسْعَى. So everyone is going to be اللهم صل عليك يا رسول الله, rewarded بما تسعى. Every step you make, I swear wallahi, every step you make, you will be rewarded, or it might go the other way. Every single step, subhanallah. فلا يصدنك عنها من لا يؤمن بها واتبع هواه فتردى. You need to focus. You need to focus, because I tell you, do not allow anyone, يصدنك, beautiful word. يصد in the Arabic language is a very unique word. It's a verb. It means distract and obstruct. There's so many things that will distract you, so many things that will take your mind off what you need to focus on. So many worldly problems, so many issues, subhanallah. And I tell you, I'm a student of Siraj, student of the lives of the Sahaba, Ridwanullahi alayhim, and they are our role models. The Sahaba, the companions of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they are our role models. They are, subhanallah. When I read deep into their personal lives, they all had serious problems. Family, some of it is family, some of it is health, some of it is poverty, some of it is so many. Yet they were so amazing and focusing on what's really important, subhanallah, and not being distracted by these little things that catch us and hold on to us. And they really do this to us every time we try to walk straight, subhanallah. And be careful, ya Musa. Allah's telling his prophet, if his prophet needs this guidance and this help, can you imagine how much we need this? لا يصدنك. There's so many issues and people that will distract you. So try to focus. من لا يؤمن بها. So many people do not believe in it. In what exactly? Biha could mean we don't believe in prayer and don't believe in the hour. They don't believe in all of it. This is rubbish. What are you doing? This is the 2018. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your life. You need to get up and join the modern world. You're still doing prayer and you're still doing hijab on and you're still doing this is rubbish, all of it. Be careful. لا يصدنك. Be careful. Don't listen to these people and just keep going towards your goal, ya Musa. واتبع هواه فتردى. اتبع هواه. This individual is a follower, is a believer, is a worshipper of hawah. Al-hawa is a beautiful word in the Arabic language. It symbolizes hawa, air. It's like empty air. This individual follows or worships nothing. Absolutely nothing. They just follow what they feel like doing. I feel like, I don't know, taking a swim. I feel like sunbathing. I feel like traveling. I feel like shopping. I feel like eating. I feel like sleeping. I feel like just, I don't know, doing whatever I like. You cannot do that, because you will have a miserable life and you will lose this life and the afterlife. The word hawa is amazing, but I think my time is up. I can't emphasize it more. اتبع هواه فتردى. Tarda, it means you're gonna fall, literally, you're gonna fall off a cliff. As if Allah explains that this path, as if it's like on the edge of a cliff. It's a dangerous path. It's a very difficult path. And you need to focus, otherwise you will fall off and you will lose your way, subhanallah. فلا يصدنك عنها من لا يؤمن بها فاتبع هواه فتردى. Subhanallah. رب العالمين gave Sayyidina Musa this instruction to describe one little thing. If you are lost, you cannot continue your life feeling lost. You cannot keep on going the way you are going. As I explained, so many people don't feel that they are lost. What's amazing about, and the correlation and the connection between, as I said, Alice in Wonderland, and a friend of mine yesterday was asking me, this is a very strange name for an Islamic lecture. I said, because movies, subhanallah, movies, without them knowing, they're actually telling us the sad truth about our lives, subhanallah. Alice, she fell into a hole. And this hole opened into a very dark, confusing, chaotic world, which is Wonderland. And her companion was a rabbit. And as she was traveling with this rabbit, trying to find her way out of this place, and she doesn't know how, they reached the T-junction, her and the rabbit. So she asked the rabbit, "Rabbit, where do I go? Left or right?" He said, "Where do you want to go, Alice?" She said, "I don't know. I don't know." So he said, "Okay, then it doesn't matter. Go left, go right. Doesn't matter. No goal, no purpose whatsoever at all." Rabbi wanted us to learn something about Musa alayhi salam. He could have gave him revelation without him being lost in the desert. He could have. He wanted to emphasize that he needed guidance, because he was obviously, when he traveled, when he left the city he was in and he was going towards Egypt, he had a compass and he knew where he's going, but it's the wrong compass. You're taking the wrong highway, you're taking the wrong way. This is not where you should go. So you need to learn where you're going. And the last thing I want to say, where do I begin to actually know where am I supposed to go? It starts with one thing and it ends with one thing. It's the same thing. Knowledge. We are the ummah of Iqra. We need to learn, everyone. We need to organize our day, our week, our month, our year. We need to prioritize knowledge. We must. And we have to put the niyyah. Why am I learning? I am learning so I can apply it. Ad-deen is not a sujjadah. Ad-deen is not just a halaqa Quran I'm sitting in and then I go outside and I'm a completely different monster. No, it's my deen is outside. My deen is out. My deen is not here. I have to live it. I have to not show it. I have to live it. In the way I speak, in the way I dress, in the way I behave, in the way I smell. Everything about me, everything. And that cannot be without proper knowledge. And that cannot be without a plan. And that cannot be without prioritization. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You need to prioritize. Malish, I'm Saudi, I can't pronounce everything. We need to prioritize. Your life is so busy, you're exhausted, you have children, you have work, you need to exercise, you need to do so many things. Do you have any Quran lesson? Never actually. Do you learn Sirah? Do you know Sirah? No, I don't know anything about Sirah. Sirah, you say, تقولوا Sirah, صح? You call it the life of Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. It's called Sirah. Sirah al-Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم. I need to learn. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant us the guidance He gave to Musa alayhi salam. And He will help us. He's just waiting for me and you to actually take the first step. and to get up and say, Ya Rab, show me this qabas, show me this light, and help me and guide me and open these doors for me so I can actually learn. May Allah grant us that. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Noha. Our next presentation is by Dr. Tasneem Zaman, who's going to speak on worth of education.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before I start, I would like you all to say Subhanallah. Subhanallah. We had two excellent speakers. I don't know what I can do now. They have already stolen the show. Anyway, the worth of knowledge. And the reason I chose this topic is I was shifting through the YouTube and there's so much against Islam that I said, where are the scholars and what are we doing? Why is the knowledge of Islam not spreading around the world as it's supposed to? And then it came to me that the first ayat that Allah sent to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Iqra, read, the word that sister just said.